Hello, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Laura, and I'm joined by my colleague Gustavo today. So it's lovely all to have you here today. Just a small bit of housekeeping before we get started. We're not doing live captioning live, but if you need it after, please do let us know. We will automatically send you the recording, and if you need it with the live captioning, please just let us know and we'll send that. As you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, there is an option to comment. Please, we encourage you to get involved. We encourage any questions or any feedback, so please feel free to throw your name in there, what college you're from, and introduce yourself. It'd be lovely to see who's here today. So today what we're going to talk about is solving every PDF challenge in Google Classroom. We're going to show that through our brand new product, Orbit Note. But firstly, I have a question for everybody here today. Why do we use PDFs? And what issues or challenges are we having with PDFs? So if you want to answer any of these questions, just throw a comment into the right-hand side. If not, it's fine. I'll just give you a wee minute. So if anybody would like to say hello.
Do we have a little bit of a shy audience today, Laura?
Yeah, we sometimes do. But look, don't worry about it. We'll just move swiftly on. Hopefully, if you did answer, it would have been some of the answers on the next page, which Gustavo is going to go through.
Brilliant. Cheers, Laura. There you go. Yes. So to the question, why would you use PDFs? So we know that PDFs are super popular out there, and simply because they've been used for many, many years. I think PDFs have been out there for over 25 years or something like that. There are so many resources available in PDFs for primary, secondary, colleges, university, and the content is brilliant. And that's one of the reasons why PDFs have been so popular across the years. The content actually stays the way it was created. You make sure that the information gets to its destination without being modified in ways that maybe you wouldn't want the information to be changed and also the templates or the designs tend to be also very nice, tend to be very attractive and engaging. So those are all the positives of the PDFs. However, to the question, what are the challenges with PDFs? Well, one of the main challenges is that it's very hard to complete PDFs. And you probably experienced that in the last couple of years when suddenly all those beautiful resources that you had in the classroom, you decided to share them digitally, maybe using Google Classroom, for example, expecting students to complete those PDFs. And that was the issue. Voila, suddenly, how do your students do that? Completion became a big, big issue. And the other thing as well is accessibility, which is very, very limited in PDFs, and that's something that we're going to cover in the next few slides. So that said, in the last couple of years, talking to many teachers and asking them, what were you doing with PDFs when what happened, happened started a couple of years ago. And one of the things that unfortunately happened all across the board was that PDFs were just being sent to the bin. Teachers were getting rid of PDFs because simply it was very hard and challenging to work with them. That didn't solve the problem because still there was an educational gap there to be filled. How now do you fill that gap? You have to create new resources and find alternative ways to replace a PDF. The other very popular method was to ask students to take photos of their work. So basically print the PDF, write on it the normal way you used to write in the class, take a photo of whatever you have completed and send it back to the teacher. And then the teacher would probably have something similar. They would have to print the PDF and score. So it was a very complicated workflow. Fair play, because you need a lot of perseverance to be able to keep this forward. And at some stage, that becomes very, very hard to deal with. So there was another one that was as well very good approach when especially you were dealing with PDFs that contain text. Those PDFs could be converted to a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word document, but by using tools that are inbuilt with those tools. However, when you have PDFs that are not just text, the outcome is not the best. For example, in this PDF that has a nice template with boxes and colors, if I pass that through Google Docs, it will become something like this. And trying to complete this in a Google Doc would be a disaster. It would be very, very hard, and then students would spend a lot of time trying to actually figure it out rather than focusing on the process of learning. So those were a few of the things that were happening in the last couple of years. So we decided that we needed to work on this and come with a good solution for desperate teachers and students that wanted to use their PDFs. So we have created Orbit Note, which is actually a revamp of one of the tools that we already had in the toolbox. It has changed a lot in the background as well. So it's now a much lighter and flexible tool, but it's doing everything that you can see on the screen. It will allow teachers and students to study, research, annotations, assign work and complete work using Classroom, and to provide students with feedback, and keeping in mind that accessibility is a must, and that maths as well is very popular in PDFs, as we have seen for many, many years. So Orbit Note looks like this, and it covers pretty much everything that you need to do with the PDF. Most of you in the line are read and write customers. You have our license of read and write, so your toolbar is going to look a little bit different. If any of you don't have read and write, this is the way your toolbar is going to be. It's going to look like. So it contains all the tools that you need to annotate in a PDF. That's the basic Orbit Note toolbar as a standalone product. However, if you have read and write in your domain, the way your toolbar is going to look like is this. So it's going to have an extra set of functions or tools right in the middle of the toolbar that are connected to read and write. So it's going to bring all the accessibility support to your PDFs. Okay, so that might explain why some of you might see the toolbar one way or the other. That said, one of the beauties of Orbit Note is that it's a tool that works very, very well with the rest of our tools. It connects with Read and Write, as I said, to bring all the accessibility support to PDFs. It's not just accessibility, remember, it's just helping every student to access the information in the document in their own way. Also, it's connected with Equatio. Equatio is our tool that allows students to work with digital maths in their digital devices. So we won't have time to do a demo of Equatio. We want to keep this short and sweet. But if you're interested in how you can work digital maths anywhere in a Google Doc or in the web, and especially on a PDF, then give us a shout and we can talk about Equatio. So last slide, and then I'll jump into a demo. Orbit Note as well has a brilliant integration with Google Classroom, which is exactly what we're going to cover today. And I am very happy to say that we feel that Orbit Note's integration with Classroom is pretty much as good as an integration can get. And why I think that we can say that is because for us, the perfect integration is that one that a student in education can't really even notice. It's so good that for the student it doesn't exist, which is what we want. We want the students to focus on their normal workflow and focus on learning and not in figuring out how to work with a new tool every week. So you'll see when we do the demo that this is a big, big part of our integration with Google Classroom. Okay, so I'll jump into the actual demo, and I will open my Google Classroom. So what I will do here is show you Orbit Note in Google Classroom. So we can do both things at the same time, cover a few features of the tool, and also show you the integration so we don't have to go through the whole process twice. So what I'll do is I will create an assignment. I will share it with Laura, which is going to be my lovely student today, and she's going to complete the document just as any of your students would do. So I'm in my Google Classroom right now, and I'm going to go to my classwork, and I will create an assignment. So first, quick mental note here, nothing is different. I'm not creating a special Orbit Note assignment, or I'm not doing anything different to what your teachers would do today. Create an assignment. This is going to be a writing activity. Well, not even. It's going to be synonyms. Let's do it, writing activity. to keep it simple, DVT. And I will just attach my PDF from Google Drive. So I will open this, go to my Drive, and pick my file for this current demo, which is going to be a synonyms and antonyms PDF. So nothing is different. I can obviously pick my option through here to make a copy for each of the students, and I am ready to now assign the PDF. So there's only one thing that I could do here if I wanted to, which is add annotations to that PDF before I share it with my students. So instead of going to my Drive, locating the file, and doing the annotations separately, I can just click on my PDF here. That's going to open this preview in Google Drive, and I can select to open it with Orbit Note. There we go. So once it's open with Orbit Note, as a teacher, I can add annotations that I want to share with my students. So what I will do here is just, for example, add a little bit of text here and say, just, for example, write your name. And I could as well add a push pin. So push pins allow me to leave pretty much like Post-it notes basically around the document with instructions, for example. So I could leave a push pin here with a comment for Laura, and I will ask her to maybe here, instead of putting name, it's going to be check all the push pins instead. So that's going to be my instruction. Check all the push pins that I left for you. That's going to be my instruction. And I'm going to put it in red so she doesn't miss it. Select. It's going to be tricky. There we go. And I'm just going to make it bigger. And end of the story. Laura will show us some of the other features in a few seconds. And that's it. So when I am good to go, what I will do is go to this arrow little here on the top and just click Share Annotations with Students. So that will let Orbit Note know that I want to share these push pins and these instructions with all my students, and that they are not personal notes that are just for me. Those are notes that I want my students to see. So I will click there, and Orbit Note will tell me that I am good to go and that I can share that document right away. And I will close this document and go back to my Google Classroom. Just, Laura, keep in mind when you are on your side of the demo that that document is not accessible, so you won't be able to select words, okay? That's something that we will cover later on in the presentation, what a document, what an accessible document means and how it looks like. So here, actually by mistake, I'm showing you how an inaccessible document looks like. I would like to, for example, select a word and I can't. This document for me looks like an image right now, okay? So we will look later on at these kind of documents and what we can do with Orbit Note to make them accessible. So just a note there for Laura so she doesn't have any issues with that. So when I'm good to go, I will just assign that PDF and Laura is going to get it on her end. So nothing different there on the teacher side, just the possibility of adding annotations. And now let's go to Laura and see how it looks like as a student.
Okay, so I will just refresh my screen. Thank you for that, Gustavo. And hopefully I will have got that document. So, yep, there's it there. And I will open it here. Here it appears on the right-hand side, as you can see. So as a student, nothing has changed for me. So I'm in the same workflow that I'm used to. As you can see, the integration of the toolbar. So this is the read and write and Orbit Note toolbar together. It's seamless. As Gustavo mentioned there, it looks like it's part of it. You know, nothing is new or different to the student because we don't want to cause them any extra anxiety with this. We want it all to be very, very simple. So as you can see, I have access to all of this, and I have a PDF now that I can actually complete it very, very easily. So as Gustavo mentioned, on the right-hand side, you have left-hand side, you have the read and write accessibility features, and that is, I always call that our bread and butter. We really focus on that anything that you send a student, they should be able to read. They should be able to look up words in the dictionary as an example. They should be able to understand anything and everything that you've sent them. So, for example, Gustavo, at this stage, can I use the dictionary or not?
Well, you know what? What I will do, talk about the other features of handwriting. Okay. And I will assign you another document that actually is accessible. Let's do that.
No worries. So what I will do, so I've been sent a lovely document, and down below here, it's asked me to complete it. So I'm going to use this text feature on the right-hand side. So this is part of OrbitNote. And if I click it open down here, it gives me the ability to handwrite in the answers. Click away from it. Click here again and write in more answers. Look how easy this is for me. But being Text Help, we never just offer one method of accessing information or one method of putting information down in paper. As you can see here, we have dictation. This is just some students' preferred way of putting down information onto paper. But again, you have those times where people, it would take them longer to type, or they might have broke their arm, something as simple as that. So I can put the answer in here with dictation. First. Sorry, I'm shouting because I don't know where the sound is. I'm using a different computer than I'm used to. So click away and I'll just fill one more in. Sorry, let me just click it over here. I'll fill one more in so you can see how this is completed. And I can, as you can see, I can move this about so that it's exactly where I want it to be. So that huge, I'm not really happy with that sitting. Just move that down. So what 30 seconds, I was able to type in 4 words here, and they look part of the document. They're very, very neat as well. So I've used 4 words from this list, but it's getting a wee bit confusing to me because I'm not sure what I've used, what I haven't used. I then have the ability to use the freehand drawn or the shapes. Within the shapes, you have a line. Oh, I can't see it below this. Let me just hit the X, apologies. So there's the just a draw. You can draw a line here. So I have used huge, small. What else did I use there? First and end. First and end. Okay. So I'm able to very easily, as a student, complete the assignment. Any additional information that Gustavo, as the teacher, inputted onto the PDF, so for example, this pin note, I'm able to access that, any further instructions. Sometimes, as a teacher, you may have scored out certain words you didn't want me to focus on, or you highlighted a bit of the PDFs that you wanted to focus on. I'm able to see, so as you can see there, check all the push pins that I left for you. Any additional instruction, it's up here for me as well. So I'm gonna turn this in and then go back to the other PDF, Gustavo. Yeah.
Yes, yep, exactly. Sounds good.
Okay. So hit turn in. Hand that in. Hand in. Done. That is literally as easy as it is. So I'm going to go back now to my classroom. I go back. I should have another PDF.
You should see another assignment there. That's going to be called accessible doc.
No worries. Let me just reopen classroom.
Yep. There you go. The first one.
There we go. Okay.
Brilliant.
Open this. So this is actually how we practiced it, isn't it, Gustavo?
Went exactly according to plans.
It's like Blue Peter. I don't know if Gustavo knows what Blue Peter is, but here is one I created earlier. So as you've seen there in the first example, if you only had OrbitNote, for example, you would have been able to, as a student, complete the assignment. You would be able to put text on it, do the freehand drawn. You would be able to complete it, send it back to the teacher. You'd be able to send it back quicker, and hopefully the teacher then can give you feedback quicker. So that feedback loop is complete a lot quicker as well. But as I said, Text Help or accessibility is everything we do, and we want everything to be accessible. So in this PDF here, we've always got the text to speech. That's always what we do, and we do it brilliantly. But these words here, as a student, I may have came across these and not really know what they meant. So I have the ability here to look this up in our dictionary. So any read and write customers here will know our dictionary and our picture dictionary. I'll just move that across. So it looks like it's taken up an awful lot of my screen, but I'm in 2 screens here and I'm using the smaller screen to show this. But if you were on a normal desktop, this would be spread out a wee bit further. So you can keep this open. This is what I like about this one, and actually choose a different word and it will change it for you. So you've the dictionary definition, which you can hear loud, but you also have the visual aid. So I know we have a range of high school here and colleges. No matter what age group I speak to, this visual aid always gets the best feedback. It's that visual prompt, and anyone that's used reading right before knows if you're in a Google Doc using the picture dictionary, you're able to insert that visual prompt as well. And regardless of anybody's ability, they seem to really prefer that than the text dictionary, but we always provide both in this instance here as well. So what we have here as well is the coloured overlay, screen masking. If you need it, you need it. You have to provide it to a student, and it's already inbuilt. But what we also have here, it's always one of my favourite tools, is the ability to highlight the keywords. So as a student here, I'm being given a PDF. I know the majority of the words, but a few of them I stumbled on. I can highlight the words that I stumbled on. I'm just going to highlight a few for the purpose of the demonstration. And what I can do then is create my vocab sheet. This is a brilliant teacher tool as well, and I hope anyone using Read and Write uses this. But the fact now that I can highlight words in a PDF, so we know that historically you have an abundance of PDF and information. You can go back to your historical PDFs, highlight all the keywords, and there's your revision list. And this is where we're in front of an audience, we get oohs and ahs and wow. So that's a real game changer, that one. But just going back to it here, this is what the toolbar looks like. All the accessibility features are embedded if you have Read and Write, but then you also have all these additional tools to complete the assignment. So as a student, it's easy to me. It's within my workflow. The toolbar's there. It doesn't look like a third-party program. It is completely, it looks inbuilt, basically. So as a student, my life has become a lot easier. So I'm going to pass you now back to Gustavo.
Brilliant. Here we go. So to complete the workflow, we have seen how I, as a teacher, I can create an assignment, attach a PDF, include some annotations, and share them with Laura. Then Laura, as a student, open the PDF, and she can add annotations. She can use supporting tools there to access the information in a more meaningful way for her. She has completed the job, and now she's sending it back to me. So now we're back in a teacher view in Google Classroom, and I just want to finish this workflow by showing you how it looks when I'm trying to grade the document, when I'm trying to score the document. And what you would expect is that the PDF opens in the grading tool of Classroom, and that's just what I want to show you here. So I'm going to open the first activity where I have Laura, and she already handed it in. So I'm going to open that, and I'm going to have a problem with my connection. There you go. Let's see again. Brilliant, now it works. So the document opens, and I will see that the annotations are there. I will see the work that Laura has done, the words that she has included in the document, and so on. So it's open in the grading window of Classroom. I didn't have to tell Classroom that I wanted to open this PDF with Orbit Note. And now I can use, for example, the handwriting tool here, or the free handwriting tool, just to maybe start scoring the document in the screen. And that will help me as well to save a lot of time. So I don't have to print this out and do it manually or figure out how I'm going to score this, because you can now just use it just like you would normally do. If you have a touch screen in a Chromebook, for example, you can use your pen and then start scoring. You can add text comments, and you can add comments on the sides. You can leave voice notes as part of the feedback, and then that's you. You just add your mark, and then you return, or I return, the document to Laura. So the bottom line of this is the workflow in Classroom is actually pretty much the same that you are following, and Orbit Note just is part of this workflow in a very transparent way for the teacher and for the student. So hopefully, if you are not familiar with Orbit Note, your eyes are wide open and you're excited about something that's going to solve your life if you're still using loads of PDFs. I'm going to jump back to my presentation here and just go to the next slide, which is what's coming next. Because this is just the start of Orbit Note. We've been working very hardly in the last probably 6 or 8 months trying to bring Orbit Note where it is right now, but that's just the beginning. We're working on a lot of very exciting features that are coming up next this year. Some of them are going to be premium features. Some of them are going to be included as part of the Read and Write subscription. So just to leave that clear, if you have Read and Write, everything that you have seen today is and will be part of your read and write subscription. That is there to stay. But building on in the future, some of the new features will be premium. For example, the inbuilt OCR tool, which I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes after this, which we already demonstrated partially by the little blip there. That's going to be a premium feature that will be available on Friday, most likely. You are going to have it for 30 days just as a test, so you can try it, and then it becomes a premium feature. We're going to have some other ones like iPad support, saving and burning annotations, which is going to allow you to burn the annotations to a document so you can share it with someone that does not have Orbit Note and still can see the annotations and the comments. Laura, your light went off, I think.
I know, it's
Then split and merge is another very good or very nice productivity feature that I'm sure you're going to be looking forward to have. That's going to be a premium feature as well, same as digital signatures. So let's talk about quickly OCR. It's not an acronym that is famously known. Optical character recognition doesn't ring a bell probably either, but basically what it does is it helps us making image-only PDFs and inaccessible PDFs fully accessible. So how does it look like? What are those two things? It's exactly what I showed in the first part of the demo unintentionally. When you open a PDF and the PDF looks like an image. So I'm gonna show it to you again here. I'm gonna open a PDF from my Google Drive, which in this case is something that I have scanned. Okay, it could be something you have scanned. It could be a resource that you bought from the internet, but that it's plain, you cannot access it. It can be a worksheet that you had in the past, and again, it's not accessible. Not accessible means that I cannot select anything. I cannot highlight anything. I cannot read this with a text-to-speech tool. It's just an image. Okay, so what you see here on the right-hand side on the top is exactly what Orbit Note is going to be doing from tomorrow or Friday for you. When it detects that the PDF doesn't contain any text, it's going to give you the possibility of scanning the document without leaving Orbit Note. So I'm going to say, let's scan. It will ask me in what language. We are supporting a lot of languages already, so great for ELA students as well. I will select English and just scan the document. So Orbit Note will scan this and make it fully accessible. So I will be able now to use all the tools that Laura previously demonstrated. All those things that we love about read and write are now available in this document. So dictionaries, picture dictionaries, read aloud, and it's all part of the Orbit Note workflow. So we're trying to keep things as simple as possible. You don't have to do anything differently, but click a couple of buttons. And thanks for a comment there from Corey. I do think it's fantastic. I agree. So I hope you can give it a go as soon as it's available and see what you think. And well, demo-wise, I think that's us, Laura, right? Unless we have someone with a question about something that wasn't clear or that you would like us to show again. I think we have a couple of minutes. Otherwise, maybe you can, Laura, jump to the next slide and.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Gustavo. Laura's just said she's been a wee bit late. Anyone that signed up for the webinar, I will automatically send you the recording. But just to end, look, thank you for joining us today. I know some of you may have joined during your lunchtime. It's been brilliant to see a few of you here. What we've covered today, we always give a lot of information, and that's why we always send you the recording so you can watch it in your own time. There's a lot of Read and Write customers signed up today. And as you've seen there, some of the Orbit Note features are already embedded in your Read and Write toolbar, but you may not be using them. And we want you to be using them. So if you would like a wee 30, 40-minute training session, just email training, put training in the subject title to me, laura@techstop.com, and we'll set up a wee training session for your school or college. And Gustavo did mention that we also, the R tool, Equatio, which is for digital maths, works brilliantly with Orbit Note. So if you've any interest in that, just put maths in the subject title and email me and I'll get back to you. But just any questions you have, just drop us a wee line. I'll put our contact details, both of our contact details on the screen now. So if we've just got a wee question, can I just ask why was the first document not accessible, Gustavo?
Yeah, so basically what happened there is a real case example. I have a resource that I bought. For the demonstrations that we do, we buy, for example, resources from Twinkle and many other that are very popular in the UK. And just like you saw, I didn't double check, that one was not accessible. Just that's the way. For a document to be accessible, the developer needs to make sure that it's accessible. So if on the developer side, you don't take certain steps to make sure that your documents are accessible, then when they get to our end, that's what happens. They are just an image. So that's what happens all the time. You download a PDF and oops, it's not accessible. And that happens to your students every day as well. So it's good practice that if you're going to share material with your students, you make sure that they are accessible so they can jump straight to learning instead of focusing in, oh, what do I do now with this? So that's a great question.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what your first name is, but B. Corey, if you want us to give you a wee demo to your school or college specifically, where you have more time to ask questions and interact, do feel free, because we know, as Gustavo said, they're accessible, inaccessible PDFs, OCR, not OCR, and something. It's not common knowledge or common vocabulary for everybody, so you only know if you know. So we'd be happy to discuss that in further detail if you need to be. Yeah, basically that's it. It was an inaccessible PDF, and by nature PDFs are inaccessible, and we're trying to combat that basically.
Yeah, it was a PDF. That's the continuation of the question. So yeah, it was a PDF, but not accessible. So basically, not all the PDFs are accessible. They need to be intentionally made accessible, which not always happens. Actually, it happens very little. There are plenty of textbooks that are not accessible, sometimes in purpose, because some people don't want the document to be copied, for example. So on purpose, they are locked. But that's obviously pretty negative when you're trying to study and research from a PDF document.
Okay, so our details are all on the screen there. Feel free to email Gustavo if you want extra training. Email me any questions. So really joking. Either one of us will do the training for you, no problem at all. So read and write customers, get in touch. We want you using it. Anybody that just wants to use Orbit Note by itself, if you're brand new, get in touch as well. It's lovely to see you all here and hope to hear from you all soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.